What's up, wild ones? Justin coming at you from the tiny house. Today, we're building a cat house on Wild Rose DIY.
So the first thing we're going to do is just measure out all the main pieces of the cat tower. They're all going to be exactly the same size, and it's just going to make one tall square. You can certainly use a table saw to do all this, but I'm just going to go ahead and use a straight edge, my carpenter square, and my circular saw. After I get those cut out, I'm also going to cut out a base for this all to sit on and a top piece that's going to be for the cat bed. So once I had the main parts cut out, I wanted to take them and put a couple little entryways in for the cats. So I just found the center mark on my first piece, marked that out, and then found the center points of the two halves. To do that really quick and easy, all you have to do is take a straight edge and go corner to corner diagonally, make a mark, and that's your center point. So then I could just go ahead and take this record liner and put it right on the cross part and trace around it. Once I had that traced out, I just took my drill and drilled a big hole, and then I could take my jigsaw and cut the circle up. Definitely take your time when you're doing this because the jigsaw got away from me in a few parts, and you can definitely tell. When you go to use your roundover bit on the palm router, every part that is not smooth is really going to show. So take your time, do it nicely, and if you have an oscillating sander that you can put this thing on top of, then you can probably even it out, but otherwise, take your time. So as you can see here, when you kind of have a straight cut and it's not nice and round, it's really going to show. So I'll go ahead and make the mistakes so you don't have to. I like to use the roundover bit over every edge I can because it's going to be for the kitties and they like things nice and smooth. So next I'm just going to put a little doorway in one of these things, and to do the roundover part I'm just going to use this jug antifreeze because I had it laying around. So I'm just going to trace out the curve of it and then connect the lines using my carpenter square. Then I can go ahead and use the same process, drill a hole so I can get my jigsaw blade through and just cut it out using the jigsaw. A good trick is the same as when you use a circular saw, is you can just put this thing right against your carpenter square to get a nice straight cut. So now I'm just going to mark out the center of the top half of this piece, and I'm going to actually put a couple more holes in so the cat can see out and you can see in. But instead of just doing circles, we're actually going to make these into little hearts. So once I had the first heart in the center marked out, all I did was measure the distance I had left, cut that in half, and then that's where I put my other hearts. So trying to make some of these curved cuts can be a little bit tricky if the curve is really tight, so don't worry about just doing it in one pass. Definitely come at it from another angle if you think that's going to help. Then once you have those cut out as neatly as possible, we can go ahead and take our palm router again and just round over all the edges. Once I had all the little holes and viewports cut out, I just set up my Craig pocket hole jig for 1/2 inch material and started putting pocket holes in all the pieces. So once I started putting the tower together, I realized it wasn't going to go together the way that I had thought. So I had to go ahead and put a bunch of pocket holes in the other pieces of MDF. Before I screwed these in, I just made sure they were nice and square with my base, and then started screwing them all together. I also added in a dividing piece so I could have 2 different levels, so 2 different cats could hang out in there and not have to bother each other. Once I had the main structure together, I ripped down a bunch of pieces of MDF on my table saw. I was just going to use these to make a little rim around the top for the cat bed to sit in. I wanted this box to have nice mitered corners, so I cut them all on 45 degrees using my chop saw. Once I had my pieces all cut out and dry fit, I just took my palm router and rounded over all the edges. Then I took a little bit of wood glue and just used brad nails to hold it on. So once I had it tacked into place, I could go ahead and level it, make sure it looked good, and then tack more in. Then I just repeated the same process for all 4 sides. I put a little bit of extra glue on the mitered joint just to make sure that that stayed nice and together. Then I just used the thickness of my level to make sure that it was the same all the way around. Once the top was boxed in, I could go ahead and start cutting out all my posts for the different levels we were going to put on the tree. This is where you can get kind of creative and just do whatever you think is going to be nice for the cat or whatever you think looks cool. I just used my speed square to go ahead and make sure all the posts were going to be the same distance apart and nice and square. Mark that out, and then I used my speed square to mark out the center of these so I could just drill a little pilot hole through. Just having one screw go here was not going to be strong enough, so I made sure to use a lot of wood glue as well. Then I just repeated the same process for the platform that I was going to glue on. I just used my tape measure to make sure the platform was an equal distance away from the main tower. It's really important once you start building up here that all your pieces are nice and level and square with each other. So once I had all the platforms set up, I could just go ahead and start wrapping all the posts in this heavy rope. I quickly learned this was going to be very tedious. I took my hot glue gun and glued all the way around the base, and I started doing it all the way up, but after a while I realized it was going to take probably 7 years to do. So I just switched to only gluing every few wraps and then brad nailing those ones in. And I think it held pretty good. I guess we'll see what the cats do with it, but I don't think that they're going to be able to tear this off. After doing the first couple, I definitely got a way better system going, and this went a lot quicker than I initially thought it was going to. Then just like the bottom, on the top I made sure I used lots of glue on every wrap and brad nailed it in so they couldn't unravel it. And with that, the main construction was done. So I built all this for my friend Kenzie, and she said she was going to finish it off. So now we're going to throw it to her and see what she does with it.
So I am going to be painting this, so I picked up some sample size jars of Bear's black and white paint, and I'm going to be using the sock method to paint this, as it's my favorite way to paint surfaces, as everything just goes on so smooth. Okay, so now that I have it all taped off, I'm just going to give it a little clean to make sure there's no dust or any wood particles left on there before I start painting. While my paint is drying, I'm going to cut up this outdoor rug that I got at Dollarama, and I'm going to cut it so that it fits on each of these steps so that the kitties don't slide around when they jump up and have something to grip onto. To attach these mats to the wood, I'm going to use this E6000 glue. It's basically rubber cement. It's amazing. Now that everything is painted and ready to be finished, I'm just going to do a couple coats of varathane just to seal the paint to the wood. So again, I am using the sock method to apply the varathane. You're going to want to put on a pretty thin coat. It goes on a bit milky, but it will dry clear. And I'm gonna let it dry probably 2 hours between coats, and I'll do probably 3 coats.
Alright guys, that's another awesome build in the books. This time we teamed with our good friend Kenzie from Mustard Tiger. Definitely check out her Etsy shop. I'll link to it below. Go buy yourself something cool. And I think our cats will really like this. I hope you guys learned some new techniques on some painting and finishing. And if you guys build one of these yourselves, definitely tag me, let me know. Let me know what you want to see, what you want me to build. Follow me on Instagram at WildRoseDIY. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Like, it'll help me out. And I hope to see you on the next video on Wild Rose DIY.